Hello and welcome. I'm George Crump, Lead Analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you for tuning in today. Today we're going to be continuing our test drive of the Nexsan NST Unified Storage System. Last week we did a test of detailed drive around the GUI, just to show you the ins and outs of that. Today we're going to do a test on the unit and compare it to some other iSCSI systems we have in the lab and see how it does specifically on some SQL testing. Now it's very hard to do apples to apples comparison in this, and so we're not naming other names, but just to give you a feel for the difference that the way the Nexsan NST is configured, I thought there would be some value. The NST specifically has both a write cache and a read cache. The write cache is based on a capacitor-backed DRAM drive, which makes it unusual, especially in this market of the industry, or this end of the market. But in general, that's a pretty unique thing to do. DRAM's ideal for write caching, of course, and so the fact that Nexsan did that, I find very interesting. And then, of course, secondly, the flash used for read caching, which is certainly more common in the industry, but again, can make a difference. So let's take a look at our SQL system here. So I've got a 2008 server running SQL. I've got 3 databases set up, and each of those are housed on a different iSCSI system. This one right here is a software appliance, so to speak. The server it's running on is fairly capable, and it also is running on a hybrid drive, so it's got a fair amount of flash on its own that it can use, and that hybrid will do reads and writes actually to that area. And then secondly is just a standalone iSCSI system, much more similar to the Nexsan product, potentially a little lower end, but not much. It has multiple iSCSI connections. It has a fairly large flash tiers, actually larger than the Nexsan box. And that flash tier is also used for both reads and writes. And then, of course, there's the Nexsan SQL volume itself, and again, that's obviously on the Nexsan NST, and it will be taking advantage of both the read and write caches that exist on that. Now, the other thing to know in our lab, anyways, at this point, we're just straight 1 gig Ethernet, not overly tuned or anything like that, so fairly modest and certainly fair to compare against other systems. So the other thing to know about the system is the setup of the database itself. As you can see here, we're just going to create a bunch of random data based on the getDate function, and then insert that into the database as quickly as possible. In the first test, we're going to do 99,999 rows. In a subsequent test, we'll do a much longer test. In both cases, we're going to pause the video, come back, and then look at it in more detail. So we'll go ahead and get this one started, starting with our server that's on an iSCSI box that's on an iSCSI appliance. Okay, and you can see we're about a minute and 45 seconds in right now. So we'll keep checking back in. Oh, and before we had a chance to pause the video, we ended at 1 minute 54 seconds for this test. So we will go ahead and record that, 1 minute and 54 seconds, and then we'll go on to our next iSCSI box. Now this one is a hardware unit designed with some flash modules in it as well. Same number of rows. We'll go ahead and execute the test. And you can see there we reset to 0. So we'll let this run for a little bit, and we'll see how we do on this one. Just a quick note, obviously all the networking is the same. This is just a plain vanilla 1 gig Ethernet setup, nothing fancy. All the iSCSI machines are on the same switch segment and everything like that. And we're back. We're about 1:38 in. I think we're going to be getting pretty close here. Yep, there we go. About 1:43 seconds for this one, so a little bit faster. Would expect that obviously with a standalone hardware-based system. So that's real good. Now we'll go on to the Nexsan box and see how it does compared to 1:43 seconds. And that one's off to the races as well. Once again, we'll let that run for a little bit and we'll check back in. Okay, and we're back on our Nexsan test. We're about 1:07 seconds in. I would expect we'll be completing this one here pretty soon. And there we go. Completed successfully at 1:21 seconds, which is quite a bit faster than the other systems. And so you can see that that DRAM really makes a difference there. And in a longer test, that difference would get more dramatic. We'll go ahead and run a longer test here in a minute, and so you can see the actual differences. So to run our longer test, we're just merely going to add another 9 out here. And we'll start once again with our software-based SQL product, and we'll go ahead and kick off the query. And now we expect this one to take obviously quite a bit longer, and so we'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, and we're back, and a whopping 19 minutes and 40 seconds later, we have our first test done. So we will go ahead and proceed with the next test, which again is our hardware-based system. And we'll go ahead and give that a start. Okay, and we're back, and this test completed quite a bit faster at almost just under 17 minutes, 16 minutes and 59 seconds. Again, probably helped significantly by the cache area in this particular iSCSI box. So it does cache reads and writes. So that was a good result. Certainly interesting, shaving about almost 3 minutes off of the previous time. So now we'll take a look at the Nexsan box and see what that does. And once again, we'll let that go ahead and run, and then we'll tune back in when it completes. Okay, we're back, and as we expected, when the test gets bigger and we get more and more data being written, that DRAM cache area really starts to pay off. And you can see here we saw a sizable increase in delta between this and the other tests. So just under 9 minutes in that test. So comparatively, a pretty significant jump in performance. Obviously, the more tests that you would expect that this would get better and better. Also, remember this is a single SQL server accessing one box. If this was multiple SQL servers or multiple users attacking a single SQL server, all of those would tend to continue to widen the performance advantage that we're seeing here with the Nexsan system. So we've done a few things to show the performance advantages we see in this unit. It's very well designed. I'd almost use the word thoughtfully. The balance of a DRAM cache area and a flash cache area, it was a very good decision on their part. Again, the unit's very reliable. We use it all the time, and we've run it very hot to try to get it to fail. It stays nice and cool. So we continue to be very impressed with the unit. So from there, that kind of wraps this test up. I'm George Crump, lead analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you very much for tuning in today.